What's up, y'all, a little faith? This is Matt Hayes, and you are listening to episode number 2 of the Fagnostic podcast. On today's episode, I have the sordid starlets of stage, film, TV, social media, and otherwise, Del Shores and Emerson Collins, two of my favorite Southern Baptist sissies. Del Shores has written, directed, and produced studio and independent film, network and cable television, as well as theater. His GLAAD and NAACP Image Award-winning plays has spawned 5 films, including Daddy's Dyin, Who's Got the Will, and the launch of his Sordid Lives franchise. His TV credits include Dharma Greg, Ned and Stacey, and Queer as Folk. He was recently featured in my award-winning film, Cognitive, playing a hateful preacher. Emerson Collins is best known for Bravo's The People's Couch and Rent on Fox. As a team, they produced Blues For Willadean. Together they produced, Del wrote and directed, and Emerson starred in Southern Baptist Sissies, A Very Sordid Wedding, and Logo's Sordid Lives, the series. Their podcast, The Del and Emerson Show on LGBTQ News, is available wherever you're listening to this podcast. Y'all, these are two of the most recognizable names in the LGBTQ entertainment community, and I am lucky enough to call them friends, colleagues, and at this point, family. I can't wait for you to hear our discussion on growing up gay in the Southern Baptist Church, the trauma that caused, and how we're all making our living off that trauma today. Are y'all as aghast as I am at my guests that I have with us today? Here they are, and I'm so honored and excited to have y'all with us. So at the start of every episode, I ask the question, are you a believer? So Emerson Collins, are you a believer?
I like to say that I desperately want to be. In the words of Whitney Houston and the Preacher's Wife, I believe in miracles and loves a miracle. So I hope so.
Okay, I love that. Del, what about you? Are you a believer?
I would say no, not in the way that you're asking or what people are perceiving, but I believe in humans and I believe in humanity. And I feel like that the collection of the good is my God.
Yeah, I love that. And just so we don't assume anything, Emerson, can you identify your pronouns for us?
Yes, he, him, his.
Del?
He, him, his.
Thank you. You can actually hear my dog Porter drinking his water right now, but we'll just ignore that and keep going. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourselves, and Emerson, why don't you go first?
Oh, I am also, in the words of Les Mis, agog and aghast to be here. No, genuinely, I'm so excited. You know, I am an actor, a producer, a personality, a dandy. And the world of religion and sexuality has been a huge theme of my life and work. And I'm super excited. I love the name of this. I love taking back that word and our faith. And I'm really excited to be here and to talk with you about it.
I love that you describe yourself as a dandy. My parents' names are Randy and Nancy. And I would always say that they, in England, created me, a Randy Nancy.
Oh, a Randy Nancy, this one-man show that you absolutely do.
Title, yes, exactly.
It's the end of my hyphenate, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, actor, producer, writer, director, dandy.
I love that. I might actually change the name of my phone to that.
Please do.
All right, Del, and yourself.
Well, I guess I just go, if we have a list, I'm the writer, producer, I do stand-up, every now and then I'm an actor, sometimes an asshole, but I love you and I'm glad that you're doing this. I think it's important to talk about. I grew up as a Southern Baptist preacher's son and my mama was a high school drama teacher. So I'm a product of that. And a lot of damage, a lot of religious damage. And as Emerson said, I've written about it, and it has been a form. The writing has been a form of my own therapy out of that darkness and finding some healing.
Well, and as both of you know, there's no room in our industry for people who don't have trauma or damage, because that trauma and damage equates to our paychecks and how we pay rent and buy food. So, mazel.
Absolutely.
I'm glad for you. And you're what, Emerson?
Work through part of it, but not all of it.
Right. Hold some of it. Yes. Uh-huh. You can tap in.
Is language okay on your show, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
I always say, give me a fucked up actor, I'll give you a good performance.
Yes. That's exactly right. And as y'all can tell, these are two of the most, would I describe y'all as the most hyphenated or the most hyphenate individuals in our industry, because you both do truly everything in every department known to this industry. I can't even express how much I look up to y'all and have learned from you two throughout my time in LA, and then in my time working with Del Shores Productions and Beard Collins Shores. Those are the two companies, just so you guys know, that basically produced all their work. Del and Emerson have been together for years, not together in the biblical sense, but together in the professional sense. There is a bit of incestuism going on between the three of us as well. There's a familial thing happening here. But Emerson, how did you get started with Del? I mean, I know, but for my listeners, how did you, because it plays into, I think, part of your faith journey as well.
It does. Yeah, the shortest version of our long adventure together now, I did a production of Southern Baptist Sissies, of course, Del's play, with the Uptown Players, the gay theater company in Dallas, while I was working there as an actor to save money to move to New York or LA. Because the play, it was one of the first productions, Del flew in to see that production. So we met at it. And afterwards, I wrote him a big thank you letter and how much it meant, how important the piece was to me. We both graduated from Baylor, the world's largest Baptist institution. And we started communicating, and he asked me what I was doing. And I said, saving money to move to New York or LA. He said, well, if you can get yourself out to LA, I'm doing a revival of Southern Baptist Sissies. And you can share the role of Benny, the drag queen, with Scott Presley, who plays the role, but also works as a drag queen in town and is busy. So I packed all of my crap into my high school cheerleader car. It's one of those Saturns with the half door.
Oh, I love Saturn.
I know, RIP. Like, they were like so big and then gone.
I know.
And I drove out to Los Angeles and arrived the night before Thanksgiving. And Del had kindly invited me to join his extremely large extended family of friends and artists on Thanksgiving Day. So I walked up to his house and met the vast majority of the core players that would become the closest friends and people of my life that day of Thanksgiving, because he invited me into the family, and now he cannot get rid of me.
Nor do I want to. I say if Emerson quits on me, I'm done. But both of you, if y'all say, Del, we're done, I say, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to go down to Palm Springs and, stay at Chill Bar and drink.
Oh, gosh. At Chill Bar, they had a big drag queen there this past weekend. It wasn't Jackie Cox, was it, Emerson?
Do you mean large in size or large in reputation? I love a big queen.
Me too. There's a bunch of big ones on this new
All-Star season.
We can't get down that trail. We can't.
I don't know. Drag queen is part of my faith journey. We can talk.
And drag performances are the closest thing I have to church in my life. It's where I go to worship.
Yes.
My sanctuary.
Emerson.
I say that joking, but it relates to the themes of what you're talking about. There is a little bit of that. Drag shows is where the place I first began to feel comfortable in my sexuality, separate from my faith journey. And it is a place I return to because of that. That celebration, that bravery, those men in dresses celebrating the femininity that were the things I was afraid of in Texas as a good old church choir boy. It is why I love it. It sort of all goes together.
Well, and we had a crossover as well, because when RuPaul's Drag Race had Mary Mary as one of the lip sync songs, I thought, okay, we have reconciled faith and sexuality. I don't have to do this anymore. So
that's it. We're done. This was a lovely podcast that you did, but you solved. We can all go home.
We got the shackles off our feet so we can dance.
That's it.
Yep.
Very similar for me when I first felt that clash of religion and sexuality was I was in Dallas, actually Fort Worth, doing the second production ever of Sordid Lives with Leslie Jordan. Back in his drinking days. And we would, after the show, we would pick up like liquor and drive. We wouldn't drive. We had a designated driver, which we found out later was drinking at the club, the actress that played LaVonda. And
asked if it was Ann Walker.
No, it was not Ann Walker, but it was a similar type. We would like fill up our we'd get some cranberry juice and we'd be drinking and listening to for some reason, my friend Shirley had given me the Rambo's 20 greatest hits, and we would sing all the Rambo songs on the way to the Rose Room in Dallas, and get there, and then it was boys, and it was just such a great time. But I felt that, and that's where I started thinking about Southern Baptist Sissies in that car.
Wow,
a little bit drunk.
Yes, my very first time at that same club, the Rose Room at the Village Station in Dallas, was driving up as a closeted student at Baylor to see a senior in our theater department perform and drag on the amateur show at the Rose Room. So I was there with other students, my first time at a gay bar, not out. And so it all sort of swirls together.
And there's an interesting irony there too, because I feel like, and both of you probably can agree with this, our parents' worst nightmares about us as young gay boys is tapping into our feminine, is wanting to be a cross-dresser, which is so misunderstood about our community, first of all. But it's funny how now, you go to a gospel brag drunks every Sunday, and so that thing that seemed to separate us from the idea of religion and spirituality is actually one of the ways that many of us find spirituality and religion is through the enjoyment of a drag brunch on a Sunday singing gospel numbers.
Yes, so you can worship in any way. I don't actually have, fortunately, the familial masculinity damage. I come from a musical family where music and arts was very celebrated. Certainly culturally in Texas, that was a thing, but I did feel fortunate that at home, I did not have the man up, be a man, from my family.
Yeah, that's great. So when you got to LA, you kind of fell into this Del Shores family you were mentioning earlier. Del, it's funny because, you described Del as coming to Texas to see this production of Southern Baptist Sissies. And it reminds me of when a sports scout goes to a college to scout, a high school player to bring them to their college, or goes to a college to watch a college football game to bring them onto their pro team. That's what I think this is the gay version of that, if I'm not mistaken.
I recruited Emerson to be the white trash Del Shores players.
Yes. It was I was red-shirted as a freshman. That's a sports analogy, I've been told.
And Emerson,
we recruit. The homosexuals recruit. So there, it just makes all the sense.
You recruited me in an underwear store in West Hollywood.
Well, now you need to tell the truth about that. That sounds like you. That sounds like I'm about to
tell the truth about a recollection.
I know, as you have often said, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. That version of it sells it much better, Matt.
What I remember is getting a lot of half price underwear that day because you recognized me and it was very sweet. So
and then we got that underwear company to then be a sponsor for a very sordid wedding.
Right. Yes. Christian. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Del, when you saw Emerson in that production, what about that performance made you think this guy's got it? I need him a part of my family and to tell these stories.
Well, there's always one, honestly. It's you can go to, I've been to a lot of productions of my plays over the year, and there's not always one, but there's
always one.
There's somebody that you go, oh, that's the actor of the bunch. And I was just blown away by his performance. I say this often. Once I know your work, you never audition for me. And that day, Emerson auditioned for me, and he's never auditioned for me again.
Oh,
so I just write for him now.
Yeah. And can we touch on what you guys are working on now at all? Or, because you guys have been working on things all through the pandemic. Your writing consistency and commitment has been so inspirational to me. And even with this podcast, it's been just to know how often you guys commit to working together has made me think okay, you've got to make our own stuff.
We can be vague about it. We actually are in development of a TV show that we both love. And it's the first time Emerson and I have collaborated before on a pilot, but this is our first time to really be in that game, and we're excited that things are looking good. So how about that? And hopefully we will have a very big announcement very soon.
Yes, awesome. Well, if you guys can go find them on social media, and we'll get your socials on the end of this as well to plug all your shit. But moving on, Del, you came from not a line of pastors, but your dad is a pastor, your brother's a pastor. Still, what was it like navigating? Because that didn't just leave when you left Texas, that association with spirituality and religion. You went to church here in Los Angeles for a while too.
I did for a brief period of time. I went for maybe a year, maybe a little longer than that. And then here's where it all started falling apart for me. It almost makes me emotional to talk about this, but and I don't even know if Emerson has heard this. He's heard everything at least 400 times, but this one, I don't think either one of you have heard that much. But I was working at the Daily News, and I was going to church, and it wasn't about the gay. I was working as a telephone sales manager, and I hired all of these older Jewish folks, that Sonia Gottlieb and David Goldberg and Milt Wiedersheim. I'm sure that they're Lillian Shaw. I'm sure they're not with us anymore. And one day I just fell in love with them all. And then one day I just looked at them and I thought, there's no way they're going to hell.
Yep.
There's no way. And that's where it started crumbling for me.
Yep. Was
the foundation that was built for me started having chinks in it. And then then they threw out all the gays at the First Baptist Church of Beverly Hills. And I was still closeted at the time, but when I finally left was the judgment that I felt about writing my first play, Cheatin'. It was 1984. And there was just so much said to me. A few people came about the language, about the theme of adultery. And I just had it. Yep. And I said, fuck it. I'm not doing this anymore.
That's interesting that your mind actually opened up as a result of love, because that's the very concept that Christianity allegedly touts. That's kind of where it fell apart for me too, when I was working on cruise ships and just falling in love with people from all over the world. And it wasn't even just Christianity, but just the American concept of Christianity seemed so damaging, even to other Christians around the world. And that's where my faith journey started to really fall apart as well, is just saying, these people are just wanting to do the best in life and to love others. How is that going to get them sent to this place called hell?
Right. You asked in the email, are you a believer? And I often say I'm a believer in humanity. I'm a believer in Lillian Shaw and Sonia Gottlieb and Matt Hayes and Emerson Collins, but I'm not I don't believe in that, Christ died on the cross for me.
Yeah.
Mine, it's funny that all three of us started the same way. Mine was the same way and started in middle school. Like, it started with the concept of missions. The idea for me of the arrogance of thinking, like the Roman way tract. If you go to China and you hand that Roman way tract to somebody working in a rice paddy somewhere, that was the picture. I can still remember it, being in 7th grade at summer camp and arguing with this older sponsor about the idea that person was now accountable because they had been shared the good news, and then they would go to hell. And I'd already moved beyond the idea that hell's like fire and brimstone, but even the idea that hell is a separation from God, like if that's the better version of that vision, I thought, what is this idea that someone's going to spend their whole life not knowing the best news, theoretically, right? And then they're also then going to be punished for eternity. But if the whole point is of the dogmatic Christianity is that you accept Jesus and you live your life with him, that makes your life easier to walk through the hardest things. And so if you didn't do that, so your life wasn't that, and then you're also going to be punished again. Well, it's like, we even figured out in the American legal system how not to engage in double jeopardy. It doesn't seem like a faith system that does the same.
Come on.
Very productive. And also, but what you just said about the American Christianity, I lived overseas in high school. I moved to Singapore when I was 16 from suburban Houston. And so we moved from a very Southern Baptist stronghold, white suburbia, to an evangelical international church, where at least the experience of it was extremely different. It was not nearly as hate-based, as exclusivity-based. American Christianity is so representative of other aspects of American culture where it's both judgmental and exclusive. And it seems to be designed to reinforce the world you already exist in more than to bring other people into it. It's, you should be like me. You're wrong the way you are. I've always found the only witness that ever made sense to me was living your life according to these principles, and the example that sets provides an opportunity for someone else to ask, why do you have such joy? And then share. That's the only version of testifying, of witnessing, of missions that ever made any sense to me.
You're exactly right.
To the American Christian experiment, the worst aspects of organized Christianity.
Yeah, and you know how it supports these notions as well, but it also reinforces misogyny. It reinforces racism. I mean, American Christianity is all about how can I make a group feel less than so that I then am needed by them. That's the whole shit.
Yeah, and so I can tell them what to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, Emerson, I had never really heard you talk about that with the missions and everything, and it make that whole scene you had with your mother and Southern Baptist Sissies was exactly that theme.
Yes. It will be the grand irony of my career that the least acting I have ever had to do was in playing Mark in Southern Baptist Sissies, and the most acting I have ever had to do was playing Benny in Southern Baptist Sissies. The two ends of the spectrum.
My God.
It is why I was drawn to your work in the first place. You know, it is why I found you, why we are here, is because I know that I will probably get to the end of my life and be most proud of the movie we made of Southern Baptist Sissies.
Me too.
The idea that you can combine a commentary about the world and how it can be or should be or be better with your art and share that with people, that specific message of that piece that you articulated so brilliantly for so many of us. I will always be most proud of helping to make that happen and exist in the world.
Oh, Del, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good. I mean, because I've said it many, many times. I thought I wrote it for me. And I really did write it for me. And then it turned out I wrote it for so many people. And I mean, I shared a letter recently with Emerson from one of my students who was outed to her family. And she was saying the day that she saw Southern Baptist Sissies was a big change for her in her life because she knew that she had a new path.
Yeah. Well, and also with art, you were saying how you did it for you. I think that's what makes artists celebrated and revered, is because we're the ones who are kind of creating these concepts to heal ourselves. But in reality, it's healing the world and moving the world towards a point that we hope we all get to experience at some point. And that's why I did Cognitive. It was for me. And then we learned, actually, it's for everyone else, Right. Did y'all, and with Emerson, with your missions, so I wanted to be a pastor in middle school, high school, even college. I went to school first in a pre-seminary environment, like pre-counseling, because I wanted to go to seminary. But I often think like what we do now is not different at all from standing behind a pulpit. You're telling stories with the hopes of advancing civilization. I think, pastors, actors, politicians, used car salesmen, we're kind of all in the same Venn diagram to a point. Did either of you, because I think part of of raising young Christian boys is hoping that they get involved in some kind of leadership in a church. Like, did you ever do True Love Waits rallies?
Oh, yes, it does. My True Love waited for a long time.
What was it?
True Love Waits rallies, Del. So True Love Waits rallies is an extreme version of abstinence-only education geared through the Southern Baptist Church. And I'm sure other denominations, I don't even know if it still exists, but there's a video of me. I wish I could find it. Like 13 years old, prepubescent voice, because I'm called to the ministry at that point. I got up in front of this room full of like testosterone and, who knows what, hundreds of people telling all these people who had probably already hit puberty at this point to save themselves for marriage because that's God's plan. What business?
Also, we have to admit, I didn't realize until much later that I succeeded so well at that because I didn't want to. It's like many of the men I went through True Love Waits with, I think failed before the finish line. But I was so in my own trauma journey convinced that I would work through this in me, that the prayer to change this would be answered, that even on the few occasions where the opportunity presented itself to have sex with a woman, I did not, so that I would still arrive virginal at that wedding altar.
Yes. That's
wow. I waited until it just really didn't.
Uh-huh. So have either one of you ever had sex with a female?
Who are you?
Oh, Del, you had. Yes, duh.
That's very good podcasting, though. Ask it for the benefit of the audience.
Yes, exactly. It's just that
I was married for 9.5 years to a woman. So yes, I have 2 daughters.
Just
I had sex twice with a woman.
Yeah, twice.
No, twice. I had sex many times with women, but with more than one woman actually. But I'm much better at sex with men.
What is sex with a man like? It's been so long.
It's been such a long pandemic.
Exactly.
Now look, Matt,
what
you are vaccinated. You could fix that.
No, I point out all the time, Emerson, trying to get it fixed, but it just hasn't.
If you lower your standards.
Well, we can talk about that later.
That's another podcast.
Yes, exactly. What do y'all, so after coming, reconciling your faith, sexuality as much as one can in this lifetime, what do you feel like, do you incorporate any of what you were taught in the Christian church into how you see the afterlife or the divine now?
The divine now, the afterlife, no. I don't really try to think too hard about it, but it feels like to me that we just take a really good dirt nap and we're done. And I live my life now hoping that I will leave something for other people to read or to perform or to think about. But the afterlife, no. And what was the other one?
The divine.
Yeah.
Divine. I don't know. I always say I'm agnostic. I'm leaning more towards atheist these days, but I was thinking on the way over here, because I knew as we went to the store, and I was thinking, if God were president, he wouldn't get reelected.
No.
He's just doing a piss poor job.
I have to joke about that as well, that if Jesus knew what was being done in his name, he'd be rolling over in his grave.
Or at least have changed his name.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
What about you, Emerson? What's your view of the divine or the afterlife?
It's funny, in my own faith journey, sexuality journey, anxiety journey, because they go together. Yeah. And my recent mental health journey that started a couple of years ago, but I had to admit, I started having panic attacks at 7 years old about God. Like if I drill it down to its core, I can see it paint the picture in my head, laying in the bed at my grandparents' house, weirdly, not my own, staring up at the light in the dead of August heat in Waco, Texas, fervently praying for the smallest sign to create the mustard seed that the faith, my thought was, I need something, just anything, and that was my earliest, and I have not grown out of that. There's a thing that sort of happens in people's early 20s where wherever you are in sort of faith and spirituality, as your life begins to just happen to you, where you are is where you stay. Because the farther you go down a path, the harder it becomes to change, right? So it becomes harder and harder for people to talk about the uncertainty of things. Well, I'm a mental spinner. I can go and go and go and go on these things and what I do on the daily that allows me to get through it is there are beautiful things in the core of Christianity that also exist in the cores of some of the other world major religions that I look at. Ultimately, if your faith, whatever it is, wherever it comes from, is not about making whatever size of the world you exist in, whether it's your family and neighborhood or whether it's you're the president, if it's not about making that better, you are failing.
You're correct. You're correct.
And so I sit it there. Those simple principles, the greatest of these is love. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
Be ye kind.
Yes.
Be ye kind one to another.
Yep.
Those things.
Hearts.
Those things I can hold on to without having to get lost in the theological aspects, the dogmatic, the organizations, the conventions, the rules that people use to beat each other down and divide each other, and use those things and attempt to guide my life with that. And I can't go with there's nothing, because where my anxiety on spirituality goes is if this is it, if this randomly happened because of molecules, and we are just spinning on this dust ball at the edge of this universe, the pressure to make every moment of every day matter would overwhelm my personal anxiety. So I do leave space for there to be a design concept here that I think we have just done terribly at articulating to each other.
Yeah.
The way faiths have been created by societies.
You know how how obsessed I am with my dog Porter. I mean, he has his own.
Yes.
It's a little pitiful. It's just us. We're fine. But that's where I have started to see God and the divine is in my dog. And then my mind goes to, oh my God, that's how they prayed to that cow in the Old Testament. And then that's how we got the 10 Commandments. So I see how we could fall in love with an animal to the point of worshiping it. Because I'm
now look
from there.
If you make a gold statue of Porter, I'm gonna come over there and talk about graven images and idolatry.
I've already looked at how I can get him cloned once, and he's only 3. Like God willing, or whoever willing, he's got many years ahead of him. But
Barbara Streisand's done it, so there's a somewhere, so it's possible.
I think he's actually so perfect. I could clone him and then sell him around the world because he really is the best dog in the world. Aside from Dell's 3 little bitches, of course.
There may be. He's probably in the mix with mine, but I don't think he's at the end.
So how is your, because I don't think our faith journey is ever over. I don't think, we ever figure shit out, no matter, how confident we feel about it. How does your faith journey execute itself and works to this day? I mean, you write all the time, not just with what you and Emerson are writing, but even right now, with the Del Shore Studio and with the workshops and the real shoots you have coming up, you write for people now. How much of that plays into your scripts?
My spirituality?
Yeah.
I don't think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is who I am. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't get overwhelmed. And I had such PTSD with the church that, when you go to Southern Baptist Sissies, all that stuff that Benny talks about the rapture and hearing a loud noise and thinking the rapture has happened. I lived that. I don't have any of that fear anymore. What if I'm wrong? My brother once said that to me. What if you're wrong? If we're wrong, at least, if we're wrong, it's over. But if you're wrong, you go to hell. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I don't fear that I'm wrong. And, it's like, but I relate. There's something that Emerson said that he said he really connected to Mark because he's a thinker. His mind is always spinning. And Marx was like that. I think too much of life and such. I remember that monologue. And that was me. I thought too much. So I've been able to calm that part of my mind down, almost divorce myself from the dogma that I grew up with. And I can spew the scriptures right back to these.
I know you can. I'll follow you on Twitter.
They fling me a scripture. I'll fling one right back at you. But I don't have the fear and the belief system that I once did.
And so do you feel like the idea of church still has some PTSD effects on you, like that are triggering?
Yeah.
Because when I lived with you, I in my own exploration of trying to retain any sense of Christianity through my, adulthood, I remember, and for those of you who don't know, I lived with Dale for 3 years while I was in my own struggles, just trying to find my footing here in Los Angeles. But I always felt a little funny when I would, on Sunday mornings, go walk down to church, to Hollywood United Methodist, which is a very progressive, affirming, queer-loving church. It's one of the first congregations that welcome, those with AIDS, has a big AIDS ribbon on it. But I always felt there was a tinge of like something when I would leave to go down to church.
Oh, not at all. I go, if that's what I have so many friends that church is a big part of their life. And if that is needed in their life, I go for it. It's not, I have people all the time going, I want you to get back in church, or maybe there's this church that you'll like. And I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. Yeah. The last time I was in church was with you, Matt, over at that same church where we shot your beautiful short film Cognitive, when, you said something about us being ministers of sorts. It's interesting that I've been cast in the last 2 things I've done as an actor, as a minister, as a preacher.
Typecasting right there. The rapture is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I want to ask a couple questions about that in a second, but just for a quick game, Emerson and Del, how old were you when you got saved?
8.
Yeah, me too.
9.
Okay. But
I was sent to a class because I was later than my group that most were 7, 8. I remember being taken to meet with Cindy Varilla, the children's minister, to see if I had any questions on why it was taking me longer than everybody else.
It's insane to me. Like, who
I
the
did
fuck
not
thinks
know
that an 8-year-old kid is ready to determine their views on the afterlife? That's why, I mean, God, it makes me so mad. So 8, 8, and 9. That's pretty impressive. I mean,
There are a lot of rededications.
yes. Oh, I'm pretty sure I got baptized twice.
You did?
Yeah.
Because you didn't think it would take?
It didn't stick the first time.
Yeah, I remember in high school, I started having that tugging at the heart again in some revival meeting. And I was like, am I saved? I don't know if I'm saved. And I couldn't talk to anybody about it because you're scared. And then there was, Miss Lane picked a date for the rapture because all these planets were lining up. And I remember we're on this school bus and it's around Christmas time. And she told us this date, it's going to happen. The rapture is going to happen. And I just held my breath because I knew I would be left behind, just like in that awful song, I Wish We Had All Been Ready.
I was going to ask you what's your favorite rapture song because I knew that was the answer.
It is. Life was filled with guns and wars and everyone got trampled on the floor. I wish we'd all been ready. Children die. The days grow cold. A piece of bread would buy a bag of gold. I wish we'd all been ready. Yeah. There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come and you've been left behind.
I don't know this one, y'all. And that people being trampled imagery, that is traumatizing.
Well, that's why you have to get saved, Emerson. That's the
mine was, Kirk Cameron and the Left Behind book about what happens as the rapture occurs. But to that, mine was in middle school. 7-year-old, 9, finally accept Jesus, got my picture Bible that got me through 3 years of church. But it was in middle school and high school, standing at the end of summer church camp. Just go stay in the dorms at a university and do a week of like flag football and games during the day and worship services and Bible studies every night. At the end of the night, I'm playing those same 3 chords on the guitar when that entirely too hot young youth pastor would say, hey, take this moment and turn to your neighbor and ask them, do you know that you know that you know that when you die, you're going to heaven? And bursting into fucking tears. Because at this point in my life, the perfect child, the perfect student, I never had any desire to do anything wrong. It didn't make sense to me to break the rules. I had done nothing to this point in my life, being the best little boy in the world, like that book. And bursting into tears thinking, I've done it, I have said, but like, y'all, we're just doing this. I hope, but I don't know that I know that I know. Must have been that third one. I think it was that third one.
A lot of I know. You know that you know. It's a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And I said, no, there's another one. No, I don't.
I'm always jealous of people who don't know what the rapture is because, even here in LA, like people that I know out here to be what they call Christians, and I make a rapture joke, and they're like, what? Like when everybody disappears when they go to heaven. They're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what is it like to not have that anxiety of watching people disappear out of their clothes and planes fall out of the sky? And God, that episode of 6 Feet Under, dude, Beth Grant was in that episode.
Beth Grant, great for the rapture.
God, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And then he fantasized about having sex with her.
Well, as you should, which also might cause the rapture. My post-adolescent 18, 19, 20 trauma was that either I was going to die before I figured out what to do with my life or the rapture was going to happen. Yep. Like in my genuinely moving towards the not extremely, but genuinely sort of suicidal oriented feelings of this has now been, a decade since I was 7 years old, this trauma, and feel no closer to a solution. And I have this thing in me now and all of this. That there was an element of I'm either not going to live long enough for it to matter, or the rapture is going to happen. And because the prayer sometimes was just take me so I can get the answers to these questions face to face. I have to trust that you will know the torture of this journey I have been on. And hopefully that's enough. But wanting that to come faster to just be able to stop feeling all of it.
Right. Yeah, I so get it. And there's also something really privileged and entitled about American Christianity and relates to the rapture, because I feel like I used to have that thing like, it's going to be in my lifetime. I just know it, because they teach us that like we are so important as these first world American Christians that our country, America, this new environment is pivotal as it relates to this world religion. Like, come on, fuck off, you know?
Right. You're not that special.
Jesus is coming soon. I wrote in my play Yellow, I wrote that all about that. Well, they need to redefine soon.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not.
I used to study like in high school because I was convinced it was going to happen around for the millennium, 2000. I remember I just knew at midnight in my time zone, and this not even like the Eastern time zone. We're like,
that's so narcissistic.
In this, I know. The Central time zone of New Year's Eve, 1999, I was convinced Jesus was going to be back. And as soon as that ball hit the thing at midnight in the Central time zone, I thought, this is it. I'm going to disappear any minute. I just knew.
So you thought you were going?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I did not.
And when I didn't, I was asking my mom and dad to make sure.
I was not that confident.
But also, imagine if it really had happened, but it really went with the clock. So it started at the international date line, and you just saw the world fall apart hour by hour on its way to us.
Oh, that would be really fun.
You know, like a plane has hit the Eiffel Tower and it's headed for New York next. And I'm just sitting in Dallas going, oh, Lord, everybody get away from the walls. Like, don't get out of the car. Because if I'm stuck here, I don't want to be killed by somebody's car who wins.
Right. Do y'all remember it was, let's see, it was around 2010, maybe 11, it's where all these billboards went up in the South especially, and they had the date, which is so crazy because it says no one knows the time, in the Bible or the place. And so they had this date, and it was a big national deal. And my daughter, Caroline, both of you know her, she got my phone and changed her name in my phone to JC. And then at midnight, she texted me and said, sorry, I'm late.
Oh my God.
It came from JC.
Oh my God, Carrie, that's so amazing.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh.
What I was going to say to you earlier, when you talked about, pastors and all of that, I had that same middle school, the LeBeaus. I still remember, patient as the day is long. They were Methuselah old when I was asking them these questions anyway. And the husband said to me after one of our long conversations, he said, you're either going to be the best thing or the worst thing to happen to the church. And I'm not sure which yet. Well,
has he kept up with you?
Well, he has passed on, I would definitely assume. He was 1 foot out of the grave as it was then. But also the obsession with the afterlife and the rapture, like the afterlife is the threat for good behavior, the like rapture coming, to me defeats the whole purpose of the rest of the point, which is about how you live the life that you have. The pieces that actually matter the most. That if you make it all about the destination, that's how they are able to be horrible and bigoted and misogynist and racist through the years. I mean, one of the Baptist conventions literally only exists over the disagreement about slavery. But those things is because I got to get to heaven and I'll tell you about it, but I don't really care whether you get there or not.
Yeah, you are so right. Did y'all ever have any like hot youth ministers?
Oh my God, so many.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
two that I still like when I see them. Like,
burger.
oh my gosh, like.
I know. I didn't know how to tell Pastor Eric that half my tripping, stumbling down the wrong path was the fault of him up there with that guitar.
Yeah.
There were two of them for me. They were summer missionaries. They would come down to Zapata as summer missionaries. And one was Lynn Eckeberger and the other one was Mike Stowell, who went to Ouachita. Y'all know that Baptist?
Yeah. Ouachita Baptist.
Ouachita.
My brother went there.
Really?
My youngest. Oh, we hit the trifecta. We attended Baylor, Oral Roberts, and Ouachita Baptist.
Oral Roberts? That's where you have to have chaperones on dates, right?
And those giant praying hands out front. I mean, when I tell you, my father is a music minister to this day. We are deep-seated in the world.
Emerson, can you, because I want to get to how our families have reacted to us. What is your family like? Because I mean, you are very vocal, very open and honest and authentically transparent with your audience base. What is it like with your family? And because you've got brothers as well. And
I have always described it this way. I am fortunate that at no point in my life was there any question or feeling that my family did not love me. There was none of that. Now, I would say theologically, we have been on a journey. But they are welcoming of Blake. They are accepting of us. And that's the part that I find to matter the most. You know, I don't need to get into details of like the Aramaic, the translations of the Bibles and all of those things like in that space. I think with your family, what's most important is the expression and communication of love.
Yep.
That is always present. And for me, that is enough.
I love that. Del, I know we know the answer to this question, but what was it like with your family? Because you had your mom kind of was
my mom was my first ally. She was amazing. When I wrote him the letter, she called me. She said, "I've been waiting for this your entire life." And I said, "Why didn't you help me?" "Well, I didn't want you to be that way." And then my dad and my brother had a really hard time with it. And my dad, he just didn't really want to talk about it. And we did talk about it some. And I had this one really great experience with him, though, when I went home and he was telling me, "Well, I just think you've chosen this." I said, "Dad, I chose for 9.5 years not to be this. I tried desperately not to." And I said, "Do you really?" I said, could you make that choice to sleep with a man?" He goes, "God, no." And then I said, we had this, my Uncle Bud's brother, Junior, Uncle, we called him Unky Jr. He was a nurse and he was so flamboyant. He lived with them and he was just big old queen. And no one talked about it. No one said anything about it. And then, so I asked Dad, I said, "Do you think that Uncle Junior chose?" He goes, "Well, maybe not Junior." So there was a level of grasping it a little bit. And then the last thing he said to me was when I was about to get married to my ex-husband, and he was on his deathbed, really. And he said, "I've never understood you, but I do want you to be happy." So it was kind of like, for me, that was enough. Yep. And then my brother and I have been on quite a journey together, but we're close again. And the disdain and the hatred for Trump brought us together even more. So, were you all ever
suicidal with your attempt to come out to yourself or with family?
What's that?
Were you ever suicidal with your attempt to come out to yourself or family during that time?
I think not. I never got to that where I thought, no.
Emerson?
Not actively really, but I definitely had the I definitely for a while was in the I hope it happens to me. Yeah. I hope it's over. I would like it to be over. More about getting the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
But I can see where I was sitting on the side of the road at Baylor over on I can see the street, I can see the car, I can see the steering wheel of the most intense period, at the most of trying to figure out where I'm going with my life. What am I going to do? That you're supposed to be used as a vessel, combined with the intense struggle with sexuality and all of it, and just thought enough. This is, that whole, he will not give you more than you can bear. Bullshit. That is told to people to make them feel unworthy in struggle. Is all that I feel that does to anyone. But the weight of that, I definitely felt I am not enough because this is more than I can bear. At that moment. And I reached, mine was a full breaking point of, and when I told my father about it years later, it was a big key to unlocking for us as well. But I had reached the point where I either had to accept me or end me, because those were the only two choices. It had to, we are a fork and we are going one way or the other.
Yeah, I remember in college, I went to Auburn and I would drive up 280 to get to Birmingham and then 65 north. And it was just series or miles and miles of just, driving in the middle of woods and nothingness. And I remember driving my Jeep, just looking at trees, thinking would take me out if I hit it at highway speeds? I mean, every time I would go home, just as I was coming more to grips with myself, I would dread having to go see my family and put on this show. But there was a point. It was March 16th, 2003. We were on a concert choir tour through the state of Alabama. And I remember this guy stood up in the front of the bus. His name is Shane Dunn. And to this day, I have the biggest crush on him, and he knows it. He's married, has 2 beautiful children. He's been with his husband since I've known him. So, 15 years now. And he stood up in the front of the bus, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's just so handsome, so good looking. And then that knee-jerk reaction thought of, no, you can't think that. That's a sin. And in that moment, for whatever reason, on March 16th, which is also my brother's birthday, I said, it's not fair that I'm never going to be able to love him or love God, but most importantly, I can't love myself. And that, for whatever reason, again, flipped in my mind to, and there were years after that of still, deciding, am I going to call myself gay? Am I going to live this way? But just to decide, I want to love myself. Because Christianity, I truly do think Christianity has committed the biggest crime of humanity in the history of the world, and is culpable for the majority of teen suicides who are involved in church, because they are constantly told they're not worth something. They're constantly told that they can't be loved by God if they act certain ways, not just gay, but if they have lust for, someone, while they're not married, or while they
get pregnant, or they get someone pregnant, or whatever, fill in the blank of how you don't fit and you're immoral and you did something wrong.
That idea of grace is so present in Christianity, but so absent in practicality and execution. It's just offensive.
Amen.
Amen. Praise Jesus.
And then I found many amen, a man,
Yeah.
and more men.
I know. I'm still struggling with my sexuality though, because I don't use it enough.
Well, see, that is a struggle that is achievably solved.
Oh God, I know. Trust me, I'm on all the apps, and I pay for them all.
For the highest end experience.
Yeah, but as Adele Shore's line says, it ain't a working.
It ain't a working. Oh, I take that that blue pill, not the Viagra pill. Don't need that. Just putting it out there for y'all. But
Dale is the most sexually active person I know, or was before COVID. And I would tell people, Dale, how jealous I am of your sex life, because I just feel like you hook up with the hottest guys. Like, I'm always so jealous of it.
That is so not true.
The narrative that I've told about you to all my friends.
I was going to say, don't undersell this.
Perpetuate that whole thing, and
success begets success.
That blue pill, it gives me every day. I go, well, I'm going to take this just in case. It's this hope in my heart pill, hope in my heart, the PrEP pill.
Emerson, I love that today, May 26th, Del Shores decides that truth matters when telling stories. Have you noticed?
Yes, just this once.
I know.
Only in correcting your story.
Right.
I was like, I listen to Del and Leslie and people we know tell stories sometimes that I was there for.
Right.
And I'm like, I only vaguely recognize the events of this story now at all.
Right.
Well, and I got it honest, as they say in the South, from my mother, because I remember once telling her that she was lying when she told a story, and she said, "Oh, that's not lying. That's just making it better. My version was so much better, don't you think?" And I said, "Yeah, it was." So the encouragement of just fabricating a little bit.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. What do y'all have to tell people who, not just young people of the queer community who are struggling with their faith, but also people who are of the faith community struggling with accepting our community?
Well, I'll go. The thing that I have found in finding my own humility in life in general is the idea that you know all the answers and therefore have all of the answers for someone else should be the first thing that a person of faith should let go of. You can share your witness, you can share your joy, and anything beyond that is not your job. We were taught that it is the spirit that will move in the person. And the irony of our modern culture is that the attempt to make wider culture or politics or anything align with your religious philosophy takes away the choice that is what we were all taught was so important in the first place. You have to be able to choose the wrong thing in order to choose the right thing. And that the only thing that you are responsible for as a person or a witness of faith is to love that person. And then on the flip side, for our community, for people who struggle in specifically this area, wherever you find your faith, if you find it specifically from Christianity, also remember that you are loved. Whether you believe that is from Jesus, whether you believe that is from our community, that you are loved, and you have to believe and see and find and inhabit that love before you can do anything else, before you can resolve anything else, and that it is the only piece ultimately that matters.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, part two, I couldn't say better. That's what Emerson said. Part one, I would like to say to these people who write me or to come up to me at a party or whatever and try to witness to me, I want to say, don't insult me. Stop insulting me. I grew up just like you. I know the Bible more than you. I have made a decision. I am a smart person who has evolved into this. If you don't like that, don't judge me by what your belief system. And furthermore, if you want to judge me, judge my character. Judge what I do for other people. Judge my heart. Don't judge that I, don't profess Jesus Christ as my personal savior.
Yeah, you're so right. I often think about how Christians, in their attempts to witness and evangelize to other people is just to reinforce their own insecurities about their beliefs. That's why they're so, adamant about it. But you're so right. And then lastly, is there anything else you want to touch on before I let you plug your shit?
I don't know that I answered it completely, your top of show idea of like, are you a believer? And I describe it this way. I desperately want to be. In the words of Whitney Houston in The Preacher's Wife, I believe in miracles because love's a miracle. I mean, I won't sing it like Whitney, but that articulates it well.
Yeah. Well, Carrie Fisher said it this way. She said, I'm agnostic I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Yes. But unfortunately, the people in the world who are claiming the name of Christ are doing nothing but cementing my own opinions about them for the time being. So here's your charge, Christians.
And if it is all real and we all show up at the pearly gates, I look forward to seeing them bumped out of line. And hey, if we don't get there, I'm going to ride down that pole with Lil Nas X.
Thank you.
Yeah. Or hang on to that once saved, always saved. You said once saved, always saved.
I mean, it is true.
Baptist Church, Brownwood, Texas.
No take backsies. Because also 1,000 years of harp, like y'all, some of the things that make our life fun are our flaws and our beauty, and whatever it is there, I believe we will be reflections of us, and the beauty of that is imperfect. So a perfect forever is no longer interest to me.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. I really cannot thank you enough for your time and your engagement. Emerson, where can we find you on social media?
On Instagram at Emerson Collins, or my website, emersoncollins.com.
Awesome. Del?
On Twitter and Instagram at Del Shores, on Facebook at Del Shores Official, and delshores.com.
Awesome.
And you can find us on the Del and Emerson Show podcast, wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. We do it live on Facebook and YouTube, but you can sign up. We've got 100 some odd episodes. You can scroll back through our adventures on the LGBTQ news and nonsense every week.
And we have so much more to say.
Well, and also what makes that show great is that you do have live engagement, whereas this is only going to be able to be accessed, after the fact. You get to actually engage with you, and you'll have many a fan that are there on the daily or on the weekly, the bi-weekly, engaging away. So why don't y'all go in and tune in and engage with them too? All right. I love y'all so much. Del, I see you every Friday for our movie night. Emerson, I hope to see you again in the
flesh
sometime soon. And Top Lake High. And you all have a great day, okay? Love you. Thanks for listening. The Fagnostic Podcast is a Matt Hayes production, hosted by, you guessed it, Matt Hayes. You can find me at matthayes.com. That's MATHAYES.com, or on all the socials at Hayes on it. HAYES on it. Music by Michael Spicer. The Fagnostic Podcast is proud to be supported by the Del Shore Studio. Whether you're acting from a pulpit or a proscenium, whether you're writing for a Bible study or a scene study, the Del Shore Studio is an online school offering classes and workshops encouraging all artists to scratch deeper. Visit thedelshorestudio.com for more information.